Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for another week of How to Be a Movie Snob. This week we have a lot of firsts. We have our first female director. We have our first time when we had one of the hosts completely change their opinion about the movie, going from not really liking it to really thinking it's a pretty incredible movie. This week we jump back into the French New Wave. It's Mariah, me, Seth, in case you want to know, and Patrick, and we dive deep into the movie Cleo 5 to 7. It's a movie I knew nothing about, and none of us did, but it really took us for quite the ride, and in a direction we never really expected to go. Dare I say we had a lot of fun getting into it. We're a little chill starting out, but by the end, we're pretty into this movie. So enjoy this week's episode of How to Be a Movie Snob.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Nothing for it. Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I love you.
I know.
Go! Get to the chopper!
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I see dead people.
Milk was a bad choice.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Welcome.
And good night.
And good night. And welcome to your favorite How to Be a Movie Snob podcast. Coming to you live or slightly recorded a few weeks earlier. Who's to
Live
say?
to you.
Who's to say?
We're live
We're live.
Difference.
with
Yeah,
ourselves.
we're live. Guys, welcome to another week of How to Be a Movie Snob. Good to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. I'm joined as always by the lovely Mariah.
Hello.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say me. But
Yeah. And
Not this time.
the very attendance friendly,
Punctual Pat.
punctual Pat.
Ooh.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Hi. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Good to
Pat.
see you.
Good to see you too, buddy. What you guys been up to lately? Watching any movies? Watching any TV shows recently?
Just the scary ones.
Oh, are you still watching scary movies? Oh,
Well,
Yeah.
in Live Land, it's October.
yeah.
It is the time.
It may be close to or after Thanksgiving. I can't remember the schedule, but yes, it is still October here. What do you guys watch this week? What scary movie do I not want to know about?
Well, I binged The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix by one Mike Flanagan,
Was
which I
it
enjoyed.
good and funny?
It wasn't.
As funny as they
Funny.
say it is? I thought it was like funny and scary.
I mean, there are funny things, but like all Mike Flanagan's, it's not. It's more like.
I am
That's
excited
scary.
to start it.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Good acting.
All right.
Bruce Greenwood, for any amount of time, I'm down. And
Nice.
if you don't know who Bruce Greenwood is, you actually do. You just don't know his name because he's a character actor. But
Nice.
he's great.
Okay. Bruce Greenwood, folks. You heard it here first. Or actually, you probably did not hear it here first, but
Fourth or fifth.
yeah. What are you watching, Mariah?
Well, it's on the agenda to watch Goosebumps with my 7-year-old
Ooh.
soon.
Oh, we did start watching that.
So,
The new series on Disney Plus.
yeah.
And?
It's
Does
it's
it?
very teeny.
Oh, he might.
Not
Yeah.
big. Very small. Got it.
It's. I mean, we only watched the first episode. I'm curious. It's a one big story. It's not like episode to episode. It's we're gonna learn some mystery of something. And it's
Ooh,
got
yeah.
some creepiness.
Yeah.
He'd be fun to watch it because
Yeah.
he's watched many things. But
Yeah. We've watched Casper most recently.
Ooh.
Like the OG, like
Chris,
15 years ago or whatever? Wow, that's great.
Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
How'd that play?
And Moriarty from Raging Bull. She's the bad guy.
That's great. That's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
What about you, Seth? What have you been watching?
I've been watching some soccer or football. I watched that Beckham documentary, which is amazing.
Is it?
Oh, it's incredible.
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if it's Last Dance-esque, but it's very, very good. It's very, like, you can't believe all that he went through. You just can't believe it. And so much so that I then went to go watch the Netflix, to one episode on his teammate on the Figo affair, another transfer from Barcelona to Real Madrid. And it was, this guy was like crucified because they just couldn't stand that he went from the mortal enemies. Worse than like the Yankees to Red Sox
Red
or
Sox, and
Saint,
vice versa,
or Cardinals to Cubs or whatever it is. And it's pretty, you kind of hate soccer fans a little bit in both series because they're kind of awful to the biggest stars of all time. But meanwhile, I'm still in the Great British Baking Show. I don't miss a week.
I learned very recently that in England, it's the Great British Bake Off.
Yeah.
And in America, because somebody has a
Bake Off.
Is it like a weed?
Yeah, like,
is it like a weed store? Like they can't have the bake off?
No, it's like cookware or something.
Oh,
they're like, you can't call it Bake Off.
Oh, funny.
And so they have to cut around people saying it.
Oh no.
That's
or they
terrible.
film separate intros for UK and American audiences, and then they do visual effects to change
Get out
the
of
plate
here.
that they get.
Wow.
Folks,
Yeah, they have to go
next week we
and
are
blur it out, or it's
reviewing the Great
it's
British
the-
Baking
Whoever
Bake
you
Off
are
show.
that has the patent or whatever rights to bake
trademark,
off.
I believe, is the
Trademark,
thing.
yeah.
I think General
Yeah,
Patton.
news.
has
I
the
just
trademark.
thought that was insane.
Yeah, that's
It's what
pretty
an
crazy.
insane thing.
That's like as dumb as like the mustache on Superman when they had like put it on and off. That's like that level of stuff.
I mean, it's more convincing in the show, but it's equal dumb.
Yeah.
Yes,
that they
exactly
had to
right.
do it.
All right,
Can
so
we talk about this movie?
let's talk about the movie.
that we
Oh,
watched?
by the way,
Did
listener,
we watch a movie?
we watched a movie this week, and it is a, how do you say, si vous, je ne sais pas, douzy? Is it douzy? No? Oui, no? No,
Oui.
right, you seem very, very, very quiet. You can't hold yourself.
Oui.
Oui, oh, there we
Oui.
go. We are going back to the French New Wave. I apologize for my accent. It does not get better than that, folks.
Not good
It's all you get. All you get.
in any accent,
It'll be coming back again soon. Don't you worry.
especially French.
This is our second French New Wave for the podcast, but this one is this this is embarrassing, but is this our first female director that we have?
I believe, yeah.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness, that is season 2, guys. We just now break the sex barrier.
I
That
would
is-
like to apologize to the ladies.
Jeez, you know who you are, ladies.
You know, ladies, our lady listeners.
Folks, if you haven't guessed what it is, we are watching Cleo 5 to 7 or Cleo 5 et 7 or wait, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 et 5. Anyway,
We're losing all our French.
you francophiles know what it is. Hey, I'm not going to try to speak French because when I do, people get more upset. So we're going to stop there. I took 3 years.
We're trying
and I
not to get
passed 2 of them.
canceled.
All right. We are?
Oh, I thought we were.
Oh,
We're not
right.
doing that yet?
No, not yet. I mean, I think we have to have listeners to get canceled.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the difference there. So yeah, this is a 1962 French New Wave directed by the incredible Agnes Varda. Did I pronounce that correct? Research team.
We
Are
could
doing
ask.
all right?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. This movie takes place post-war France. It takes place at the time of when it's filmed, so it's not like taking place in the past or future.
Well, which war are you talking about? Because in the movie there is a war.
yes,
going on.
but that it's happening when the movie takes place. Like the war that they talk about does happen during that time,
So
and
not post.
right. This is so it takes.
I mean, it's post some wars. It's pre some wars. You know.
So
You can say
it's
that
not
about
like
any
post-war like the bicycle thieves in Italy. It's not like
No.
that post-war.
Not
but it's-
recently.
No, but this does, and we could talk about that historically speaking.
And we're in the Cold War.
We're in the middle of the Cold War.
Cold War.
The Algiers War. Is it Algiers War? Is that what we're talking about? That is going on.
Yeah, French Algiers.
And that one is a very, it's kind of the end of French colonialism sort of era that's going on here. And we only bring
I do not know. I'm not familiar with this war.
Yes, because it wasn't as big of a deal for us in America, but it definitely was a big deal in France's history and definitely Algiers' history. So it was kind of a big deal to show the shifting from colonialism to what we have today, which is post-colonialism. So that's kind of like the background. Not as important for most of this movie, but it does become important for the end of the movie, as we will talk about.
The Algerian War.
It will be. So with that, we'll start out, and if you can call it starting out 10 minutes into the podcast, but we're going to start out with some hot takes and cold brews. Sponsored by...
Could be you.
Could be you, folks. We're going to start with the origin of all things coffee brewing for the Northwest, which would be our Seattle region. So, Patrick, what is your hot takes for Cleo.
Yeah, so my hot take is I loved what this movie was trying to be, but not what it was.
I got a couple hot takes. First one is best use of nudity I think I've ever seen in a movie. That's my hot take. We'll talk about it later, but it is the best use of nudity I've ever seen in a movie. That's my
not
hot take.
gratuitous.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
How'd you feel watching this movie? The first, going through the first time.
Well, I can tell you it's not my favorite French New Wave movie.
Really? I mean, yes.
Or it is maybe because the other one was French Noir.
No, it's French New Wave. It's Godard.
Yeah.
We did the classic Breathless.
I thought that was film noir.
Nope. It is classic.
New Wave.
Some say it was Well,
it was better than this.
Hot take. Godard's better than this one. And a lot of people agree with that. But it's a definitely very different take. Also, this is one of the best feminist movies I've ever seen because it doesn't preach at you, but you get it at the end. That's what I thought was my other hot take.
Definitely at the end, because it's not obvious that it's very feminist in the first 60% of the movie.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
There's another hot take for you.
Mariah, we'll explain how it was feminist.
Okay, no, I love how the two guys are going to explain.
Tell me?
Can you mansplain why it's feminist?
Yeah.
This is a good feminist movie.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome, Mariah. This is going to go great. We're definitely getting canceled on this one. All right. Speaking of mansplaining, no, this is not mansplaining. This is the summarizing section of the episode, folks. Mariah, take it away.
It's my time to shine.
Woo.
Okay. Well, this movie is about a singer, a French pop singer.
As you do.
And she's a little stressed out because she had a biopsy, and the day of this film takes place, not just the day, in a certain number of hours.
Yes.
She's going to find out. Does she have cancer? Is she going to die? So the film starts off at 5:00 in the afternoon, and she's getting her tarot reading.
French Standard Time, by the way. That's what time it starts.
Yeah. I'm not sure what day it was, but it's June 22nd.
I was like,
never mind. First day of summer. Lies.
Tells you throughout the movie, but
yeah, a couple times. Sorry. Let's cut that, please.
Oh. Yeah, go ahead.
We don't
I got a hot take. after you go through that.
Okay, good. So she gets her tarot reading, and there's some foreshadowing things happen. Yeah, in color. And cut to her getting sad. Like, the tarot reading doesn't go as she's hoping. It's kind of confirming her fears.
Confirms, yes.
So then she starts hanging out with her assistant or maid.
Yes, one of those.
And they go to a coffee shop where she starts to kind of melt down, and they give her coffee because that's
That
going to
helps.
calm you.
Have a cigarette and coffee. That'll calm
The
you
maid
down.
tells a story. And she's got to get home. She's got rehearsals for some new music. And so she meets her comedy team, pianist and writer, and they try and cheer her up.
Kind of.
Unsuccessfully.
No, not great.
And then her lover shows up.
Wait, the lover's before the pop band, isn't it?
That's true.
Well,
He
you
does
should
get
just
there.
watch the movie and figure it out.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. First,
you're right.
First the lover, then the pop band.
Okay, lover, pop band. And then what happened?
Freaks out.
Yeah.
She freaks out. She's like, I'm
Freaks
out
out.
of here.
She bails.
Pulls off her wig,
She puts
which
on a
was
black dress.
surprising she was wearing a wig at that time. I had no clue she was wearing a wig until she pulled
I
it off.
wasn't shocked.
Yeah, that's surprising.
I was also unaware.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, anyway, she takes off her wig, puts on a black dress, and takes off. And wanders the streets of Paris.
Looking at a lot
sad,
of people.
sad and lonely.
People are strange. I felt like that song should have been playing when they were walking through the streets during that time. When you're a stranger.
Meets up with her old buddy.
Dorothy.
Meets up with her buddy
Dorothy.
in the artist's studio where the nudity happens.
Yes.
The guy is a model. The girl is a model.
Yes.
Her friend,
The gal.
Dorothy.
It's a gal.
And then they go on a little excursion, see a movie, hang out a bit. Then she moves on again, goes to a park, and meets a really chatty, as the tarot reader said she would, meet
Yeah.
a man who's very chatty, soldier who's on leave from the war, and he has a couple hours and she's got a couple hours, so they have some conversation and
Boom.
take a bus ride to the hospital to get her results.
Can't find the doctor.
Can't find the doctor. Suddenly the doctor drives up and says, "You got it, but it's going to be super easy. 2 months of chemo and you're good to go."
Hold it.
And then
It's really no big deal.
And then they smile at each other and it's over.
She's transformed.
Yeah.
Fin.
She feels happy now.
Fin.
That was a terrible summarizing.
That was pretty great. This movie is 24 before 24. I'm just going to play that now. This is the original 24, folks, because it happens in real time.
But it's 2.
Yeah. Huh?
It's 2, not 24.
Oh, so right. Oh, good point.
And really, it's 1.5.
Well, maybe they were going to make,
1.5.
11
The movie
more,
sets
11
us
more episodes. Yeah, the irony is
Movie
it's,
sets us up for disappointment.
I know that it's already a lie. It's 2 hours, 5 to 7. It's more like 5 to 6:30. Come on,
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which is, did you know that's the lovers' time or something? Time for lovers.
6:30.
Really?
No, 5 to 7. Like that's
Oh.
what French people refer to that time post work.
I find that that's a very inconvenient time.
Yeah,
with
kids
your
you're
lover.
feeding your kids. Oh, because you probably don't have kids. Oh. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's been so long.
That's the thing. That's kind of why, it takes place during this time. That has meaning to French people
Oh.
in a way. It doesn't to us.
Well, I can tell you that the numbers part of this podcast this week is brief.
Lacking.
There's-
Well, there's 2 numbers in the title.
There's 2 numbers in the title. It's June 22nd, 1962. 1,
We found out how long our chemo is.
62.
That's-
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah.
There's the maid's kind of obsessed with numbers.
Yeah. Can't wear.
You can't go in that cab. It's an unlucky number.
New-
We can go in this one.
Yeah. New hat. Can't wear on Tuesday. Everybody knows that.
Nothing new on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Don't even hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what the numbers that we don't get are what the budget was for this movie
Oh, the box office.
and what the
was.
box office was for this movie.
Yeah.
I searched.
What did it make?
It
Found
was
nothing.
not expensive.
No.
I can't
Double
imagine that it was.
No. And the the joy of this is in classic French New Wave style. This is a very low budget, no lights, no sets, just filming in real places on the street. It's pretty awesome run and gun, like shooting. Like it feels so, I mean, Breathless felt a little bit, this felt smoother than Breathless in my opinion, because Breathless felt even more like janky.
Well, she made one other movie, so
yeah. It was not.
I did see that
rough.
cost like $14,000 or something insanely low. Her first movie. So
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
I'm guessing this is more expensive. It had, Godard in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
So can we start
let's talk
chronologically here?
Well, I want to get your initial reactions, like what you were watching, and then kind of because Pat, you and I just briefly talked about before we hit record, but when I first watched it compared to like what I started watching people's reactions to it, it became a different movie for me for sure. And it made me wish I spoke French to get it the first time. Like, would it have come through clearer the first time watching, or if I watched this a second or third time, would I have picked up on some of those nuances? So yeah, I want your first response besides it's dumb.
I didn't think it was entirely dumb.
No, me either. I think one, like many of these movies that I haven't seen, I knew nothing about what this movie was going to be.
Right.
She is so off-putting out of the gate that there's a little bit of like, I don't know about watching Cleo for 2 hours. Because again, I didn't actually look at the runtime. It's 5 to 7. That's going to be 2 hours. And then I was like, oh, they're doing some really interesting experimental stuff with camera angles and cuts. But it all felt very inconsistent to me. Even they have a few moments of like inner monologue that we hear, right? When characters kind of see Cleo for the first time, like, oh, there's Cleo and she's so whatever. And they're like, that's it. We're not going to do that the whole movie. Don't expect it. Not every character that meets her for the first time will do this.
No, mostly it's her with herself and off and on.
Her friend said it. She says it once. And then the maid says it, has inner monologue. Maybe only women have inner monologues. Maybe that's something to the movie.
There you go.
If I've watched, because I watch What Women Want on a weekly basis, so if I've learned anything from that movie.
Yeah, but like it felt like a lot of cool ideas kind of cobbled together in a way that didn't feel consistent. And honestly, until her friend showed up, until she went to the modeling studio, and her friend kind of chopped her down a few pegs in like a great way.
Right.
I was like, I don't care about this woman at all.
Yeah.
And so the second half of the movie went down a lot easier than the first half.
Oh, 100%. Which I think is on purpose as well, because you're not really supposed to like her, because she's so
I mean, they
That's
say
real
really
tough when
she's
you're
kind of
watching a movie.
Yeah, she's spoiled.
Right.
But she's feeling her deep feelings from the get-go, supposedly. Although I don't really believe her for a while.
Yeah, it felt performative, like she's supposed to be sad. Weird.
I am fatigued. I'm going to lay down again. And
right.
Yeah. But I think that, again, the more I learned about the movie, and the first half of the movie for her is this performance of who she thinks the world wants her to be. And then she peels away all those layers, and it's more about just who she is and how she sees the world. And so it does become this she's supposed to be kind of crazy and flighty, and because she's a music star,
right?
And it's expected of her to be that way, and emotional, dramatic. And then by the end, it's like, no, she's kind of got her stuff together.
I feel like the turn.
It's just
it
was weird.
I feel like the turn for her really happened when she was in the cafe or the restaurant or whatever it was by herself, where she sits by that kind of mirrored pole and she puts her own music on the jukebox. I feel like that when she's observing other people and their reaction to hearing her music, and that she really wasn't getting any of the stuff she wanted out of it, I think that's kind of for me, I felt like that was the turning point. She started kind of going, oh, this isn't all about me.
Yes. And
right before that,
yeah, some will
coming
say
into
it's the wig right before that, because then that's the first thing she does after she takes her wig off.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like the wig
There's
is this first like
And puts on the black.
yeah, and then of course I assume we'll talk about the mirrors, because the mirrors are like
all
cool
over the
mirrors,
place.
of course.
yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find a camera in all of those. Actually, at one point, I was like, "Ooh,
No, I
are
was
they
there.
gonna catch? Are we gonna catch any of the cameras? No.
Yeah. But the other thing, speaking of cameras, when she went into that cafe, it became a first-person perspective for walking in and looking at people. So
Yeah.
it was everyone's looking at Cleo to sometimes Cleo looking at everyone, and so there's a bunch of stuff like that I liked, and I liked it in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie felt kind of like a chore to get to those things.
Mm-hmm.
There's just little bits here and there. I'm like, that was cool. Like when she's coming down the stairs.
Yeah.
And there's some kind of crazy cuts, but they also were cutting to the music.
That was
very
nuts.
Deliberately.
And they were doing like the rocking back and forth and cutting to one and cutting to the other. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd add that in one of my films, but I appreciate them doing that.
I liked what they did. All of the whole the whole soundtrack, the music was great. The only part that I was like, was when she gets to the park and it turns into this like ominous and very loud. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, what are we like escalating to right now? And then
Right.
it's nothing. It just kind of
Well,
dies
and then
off and
creepy
she
guy
wants
shows up,
yeah.
and I'm thinking, this is going to go bad. This thing she's worried about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking
'Cause again, I
she's
had
gonna
no idea
jump
what
off
this
of
movie was.
something. There's a railing here. She's
Like, is this
gonna
guy going to kill her?
no.
It was weird. But yeah, anyway,
Gonna talk her
did you
off.
say what your expectations were, Seth? Or
No, so when I first watched it, I didn't have any expectations as well. But as soon as I saw like the long camera takes with nothingness, I realized I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of those. It's so I had lots of thoughts. Like the first thing, like
one of
there's
those artsy movies.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, he's going to make us work for it. Like there's no rushing. Oh, that's right. She is going to. I love that. This is why I feel like this movie. When I learned, because I didn't know.
Did you know about the director before?
No.
That's
Which
the
is
thing. Is like
awesome.
I didn't know either, and I was like, now I see why she did all the things.
Oh,
she
and
did.
it's so good because I'm like, I believe it more because I believe the perspective of her looking at herself. I believe. Oh, there's so many things, but we'll get
yeah.
So, but initial watching
Put a
though,
pin
I
in
knew
that.
nothing. I didn't know it was a female director. I didn't know like she has this moment. So I remember thinking, okay, I don't really like her, but I didn't like the characters in Breathless either. So I was like, whatever. But then I was like, okay, and I saw what they were doing with the frogs and the piercing the biceps. Like, oh, it's like this bad feeling. You feel like everyone's looking at you. And then the perception of everyone staring at you. I'm like, that's cool. And then the scene that blew me away was the nudity scene, not because it shocked me, but because the facial expressions, I'm jumping the gun here because I know we want to wait for this, but when I saw all of a sudden she walks in and sees, we don't know it's her friend yet, but sees this person naked, but it feels safe. It's like the opposite of the alien scene when Sigourney Weaver is like in her underwear and we know there's an alien, like she's totally vulnerable. Meanwhile, this girl is literally nude, but there's a safety to it, which doesn't make sense when Cleo is always wearing clothes and putting on hats and wigs, and there's no safety to it. So that was...
She feels exposed.
Exposed. And then meanwhile, Dorothy
and-
is like, doesn't feel judged at all.
No.
And there's this piece to it, and it's not sexual. It's just kind of... It was this weird thing, because usually when directors use nudity, it's a tension or it's a like a lust, or it's a feeling they want to like almost like kind of punch you in the face with. But this was like the only time I've seen nudity used where it's like this is relaxing, and I've never experienced that in any movie, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on? Because I didn't, you didn't quite get what the movie was doing yet.
Yeah.
But I knew the feeling I felt at that moment, and then we went into the next, and then the rest of it, all of a sudden, I didn't hate Cleo anymore because she liked her.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden
humanized
I
her,
liked
right?
Cleo. And this is before I knew anything about the movie. So this is like my first feelings about the movie. I'm like, okay, we're, because Breathless I felt was so pretentious. And it was like unapologetically trying to be. But this, at that point, I'm like, oh.
But it did more of a...
You did something there. And I don't know how you did that. And it makes me feel safe with a woman's... And it's very...
Well, because Breathless had a plot.
Yes, yeah.
There was a build up, there was backstory. You knew basically where everybody was coming from. There was all these other things built into it. And with this, it's really just
it's not
an existential crisis turning into acceptance, and
Character
her
study.
getting through this
Good
process. There's no yes, she's a pop star, but there's no like, how did she become a pop star? How long has she known this, maid or the musicians or her naked friend or
or
how long
lover.
has he been her lover? There's no backstory, and you don't really need it because it's really just all about her processing who she thinks she is to who she is when she's kind of come to terms with the fact that I could have a terminal illness and what does it all mean. And
so okay,
they're both equally beautifully shot and beautiful location and beautiful people.
Oh, I disagree. I think because I was thinking about this movie and what Godard did in its first Breathless was so more jolted, but there was moments in this movie like with the fortune teller felt like Joan of Arc, where the way they shot the face was
indoors,
so perfect.
Yeah. But I'm talking, but like the in Paris.
Oh,
I totally the tribute
agree.
to Paris.
Yes, I totally agree with the cars, the live in Paris shooting, the very run and gun style. Obviously, no lights. Probably not even actors and actresses. They're probably just out in the street.
In fact, she was another one of those people that didn't.
Yes.
That hired people that were not.
Yes. So it totally makes sense, and I agree with that. But this one felt. And maybe it's just because I've seen this one recently. I should probably watch Breathless again before I say this. But it felt a little bit more smooth. It felt a little better in the craftsmanship in the way they did some of these shots. And I just, because I remember watching Breathless thinking, okay. But then I'm like, oh, French New Wave. They don't have like steady cams. He's literally using a shopping cart.
Yeah. And I think that's because of the way... because of who the director was. I think because she came into this as an artist, as a photographer, before she was ever entertaining filmmaking, her storyboard was pictures.
Literal pictures.
She,
so cool.
Yeah, actually had everything that she wanted to have happen in a picture before the filming happened. And
so cool.
I feel like, the way she kind of set it all up, it made for, even though you have, less equipment, less light, less all that other stuff, you've got a really well thought out plan, so it's kind of easier to execute even though you're out in public and it's mostly all outside.
So cool. Okay, Pat, let's do we have a new name for it.
Animator Insights.
Ooh, the animation
insights.
insights. I like this. So
from Punctual Pat.
From Punctual Pat, the animator insights. Because folks, people actually pay Pat to animate things or to tell other animators to animate
but not
things.
For his insights.
They kind of do it.
Well, I've never paid him for it.
Oh no, you've paid for it though. Yeah. All right, Pat, take it away. Coming for the first time in 2023, Animator's Insight with Patrick Gillette.
That's quite the intro.
You're welcome.
We're working on it.
We're still.
Thank you.
We're workshopping a little bit here, folks.
So I think we've kind of discussed some of this stuff, and I'm going to really stretch the meaning of these words for animation.
Yeah.
But they do cross over. So anticipation. Anticipation is meaning setting up an action so the audience can understand. So if you're about to run off stage left, you're going to rear up stage right and go, that classic.
Yeah.
And that's just help you. If you just zip off, the viewer might be like, whoa, what happened?
I do that every
time
I get
a couple things. To me, we have anticipation with the tarot reading. The first thing we see sets up the entire plot of the movie. We have some amount of understanding of what is to come through that tarot reading. You didn't know it at the time. You're like, is this all a bunch of baloney? But it's like, nope, that's the plot. So she's setting up the story for you ahead of time.
Also,
So
this
when
is
it
a
gets
color
there-
movie.
Yeah, I was same thing. I was so confused. By the way, it felt so similar to the Bicycle Thieves tarot scene. I was like, this just must be a thing in Europe. Everyone's got tarot
Yeah.
cards in like
Sure.
apartment buildings. That just must be a thing.
Spiritualists and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uno.
And then, of course, yeah,
Tarot.
staging, which we just kind of talked about.
Yes.
Like the craftsmanship of the frames, where we're seeing her walk around, the big crowd shots, the intimate shots. Like, I was feeling feelings when they're in the bus at the end, and it's a pretty tight shot, and they're sitting further apart than they're framed to be. But it's like, are they gonna like kiss? What's going on? There's so much
Right.
romance happening just because of how she placed them in shot, and you know, her performance, really just that sort of, you know, excited look. But yeah, the staging of this movie was really great.
Yeah.
But then, and the other thing I want to talk about, you know, so another principle of animation is straight ahead or pose to pose. And to me, the cinema verite style of this is straight ahead. So straight ahead means,
Thank you. I was like, what does this
You-
mean? Yeah.
yeah, meaning you draw, you don't quite know where you're going, but you're just going to draw until things kind of reveal themselves to you. Like, you have an idea in your head, you're like, okay, I'm going to draw this frame, and then I'm going to draw this frame, and I'm going to draw this frame. And the drawings kind of take you through.
The
Where
Wong
pose to pose is,
Kar Wai of
yes,
animation.
where pose to pose will be, here's a key pose, here's a key pose, and then your job is to get between one and the other, but you know where you're ending up. And I feel like this movie, at least the style of this movie, is very much straight ahead. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. Right? You don't quite know
Interesting.
where it's going to head, but you have
Right.
an idea of what you want it to be. And there was improvisation in the movie. You know, it wasn't so, you know, meticulously crafted, and so there was a natural style to it because it was natural. You didn't know what the crowd would do when she was doing these first-person shots. And then that last one was more gaming. The point of view is changing between third person
Yeah.
and first person, which happened a lot, and it was very integral to the plot, like her looking outward and just letting the world watch over her instead of being so fixated on what she looks like to the world. So those are my animation insights for this
Good
movie.
one.
Good insights, Pat. Good job.
Hey, thank you.
Gotta go.
That's great. I want to just talk about shots that I thought, because when I see these movies, I always think about shots I could actually do on a wedding day. One of the shots, and it felt the most Ozu shot of the film, was like you're following her, and it's usually like a pan through the alley or a pan through the street, but then it stopped when the building was perfectly set up like an Ozu shot, and she came in front of the building, and then she went up the stairs, and it was perfectly symmetrical, and that kind of stopped you, like, oh, we've arrived. And I thought that was such a cool, like, motion, stop, perfectly framed, go up there, and you knew, okay, this is where the action is going to happen. I think that's when she got to the studio to see Dorothy, but it was very cool. Like,
Yeah.
you knew
Yeah.
what was going to happen. And then,
Interesting.
And you also
interesting
knew-
shot composition to interesting composition.
And you really had no idea from that entrance what she was getting.
No.
You've arrived, but where are
where
you?
are you? But you knew something was, because the motion stopped, and it was so good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, every time, it made me think about, with the early shots, how I didn't feel as much admiration for the character of Cleo, because, by the way, Cleo's not her real name. Listener out there,
It's not.
we haven't broke that.
Florence.
Florence is her real name. Cleo for Cleopatra. Anyways, we'll get to there. But I was like, oh, she looks pretty, but she doesn't look like someone you like. And I thought, like,
Yes.
that is something, when you're filming somebody, you really got to make sure not only that they look pretty, but that you're getting their essence as well. And obviously, I think this actress did a really good job of kind of us not liking her earlier, but then all of a sudden we do like her. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like a relaxing of her face. Where as soon as Dorothy gets in the frame, she's like a different person,
Yeah.
and it's great. I just thought the actress did a great job. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Where-
this is really, I
Which
like her
also,
now.
like, in contrast to Breathless, you know, you like Gene Seberg's character the whole time. She's
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
she's cool, clever, all of the things.
Yeah. it's-
Pretty. I think they're both pretty.
Oh,
pretty
for sure.
pretty ladies. But one was kind of ick inside. Obviously.
Well,
in the
we
beginning.
thought she was.
Yeah, she's figuring it out though.
But-
You know,
Yeah. Took a bit.
it's
and,
hard.
and I think,
Took 45 minutes
know-
and she turned it around.
yeah. No, I mean,
I
I
mean,
think the
gosh, it took her a while, but
sort of, yeah. 45 minutes since she became all new woman. To me, that is some of, like, I think where the feminist stuff comes in. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mariah. It felt like who she was at the beginning was who men wanted her to be, or who she thought men wanted her to be, and that wasn't appealing. She was like a shallow person, and it had no inner thoughts. So who she became at the end was who she was
yeah.
as a woman, and that was who was interesting and appealing.
yeah.
And when she kind of threw off that, what I think everyone wants me to be, is when she became
Well, and
the
that's
best
true.
version of herself.
And from the beginning, she, you know, she even said out loud, I mean, although I don't know that she believed it, you know, she kind of recognized, like, you know, everyone spoils me, but nobody loves me. You know, she knew that it was all
Yep.
superficial. She knew, that, you know, but she also didn't really have an answer. I think that was kind of like, this is my worth, you know.
The irony was, I didn't even believe her when she said that.
No, that's the thing is
I was
she
like, I
said
was
things
so
that
annoyed.
were
I was
true,
like,
but yeah, you're like, I don't
whatever.
think you believe
Yeah.
it.
And
I think you're just putting on a show.
I kept waiting-
saying
And I
what-
didn't know if that was bad acting or not.
Right, exactly right. And I was
I don't think it was bad acting. I think it was good acting.
Yeah,
I
in
didn't understand how
retrospect,
to
it might
interpret.
have been good.
no, that's the crazy part. Like because I kept waiting. This is how sexist my mind is thinking. I thought, oh, we're gonna wait for some good piano player to help steer her in the right direction, or the singer's gonna help. But they were not either. They were just another part of the whatever.
They were kind of like court jesters.
Yeah, and it was so great. I still can't get over how the director used that scene and used Dorothy as just like a whatever. Oh, that's silly. Just move on. Like, and you have, I don't know if you guys, when you have people like this in your life who are just like, oh, that's dumb. Let's just do this. And it's like, it's life changing. And it's so, listeners, if you
It's
have this
refreshing,
friend
that's for sure.
who's like, don't let's just know what's true
Yeah.
and right and go with it. And it was so,
To get away from the pretension and it was
so nice.
that was hugely game changing to me for the movie and for her as a character.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, like we were saying before, like I like the movie more after having watched it than while watching. Like it wasn't the most enjoyable thing, but I love so much about what they did. And mirrors, symbolism of mirrors, and how that unfolded. Do we want to get into the mirrors?
Yeah, let's
Can we
talk about the mirrors, because I want to talk about it in a good and the bad part of the mirrors. So the bad part of the mirrors is I do this all the time in my wedding films. I have them look in the mirror and then it
Look
gets
at
to the
themselves
camera.
in the
And
mirror.
every time, I'm not going to lie, every time I saw them